Hello everyone and welcome to another Transfer Talk show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy and I'm your host for today's show. The rumour mill is certainly gathering pace as there's 11 days left of the transfer window, so a lot of rumours to discuss. And we'll start with some official news, and that is Calvin Phillips joining Ipswich Town. Now this is Ipswich Town's 9th signing of the season. He's coming from Man City on loan. For me, a good signing for the Tractor Boys. He'll provide a lot of experience in that squad. Kieran McKenna will need to make sure he manages his minutes, as obviously he's got a poor record in terms of injuries. So he'll need to make sure that he's not being overused and is probably utilised more for the big games where you need a bit more of an experienced head in the middle of the park. So for me, it's a smart signing, and not to throw shade, but even Ipswich Town are signing CDMs. You know, that's a little dig aimed at FSG or Liverpool owners. Got 11 days to go, so yeah, we definitely need to get a move on from a Liverpool point of view. And speaking of Liverpool, this is not the move I was expecting to read just before our opening game on Saturday, and that is Joe Gomez being left out of the squad as there's interest from other clubs to sign the player. For me, this is a terrible decision from the club to even consider selling Joe Gomez. He's a valuable member of the squad, and he will certainly get minutes this season. However, that's me speaking as a Liverpool fan, and I obviously want top players at my club. But what about Joe Gomez? Maybe he hasn't been given assurances that he will get game time this season. He's 27 years of age and is about to hit his peak. Maybe he wants to play more first-team football, and rightly so. He's been such a loyal figure for us for almost 10 years now. So if he wants to move on, the club should do everything in their power to grant him the best move possible, as there is a lot of interest in the player, including Bayern Munich, which for me would be a great move. So from a selfish point of view, I'd obviously wouldn't want us to sell Joe Gomez and would like him to stay, as I think he'll be a big miss if he departs. So let's see what happens with this deal. Deja vu. I feel like we're talking about this rumour on a weekly basis. Now, it's not an error on my part that I've presented Gahey being linked with Newcastle. Newcastle actually placed a fourth bid a few days ago of £65 million plus add-ons. From what I gather, that bid has also been rejected. Look, Gahey is a decent defender, but for me, he's not worth that price. I don't care what anyone says. So if I was Newcastle, I would walk away from the deal right away. Plus, they're one of the clubs that are interested in Joe Gomez. So that would be an option for the defender in terms of the clubs that are interested in him. However, if Crystal Palace value Gahey at 65 million plus, you better believe Joe Gomez will cost more than that. As for me, he's a far better and more experienced player. But drop a comment, let me know what you guys think in regards to that. Another Newcastle link, this time it's an attacking player in Toney Madueke. Madueke was on the bench for the Man City game, so at least he's getting selected to that extent. However, I'm not sure if he'll get a lot of game time with Chelsea, as the squad is pretty much stacked right now, and there's nothing to say that they won't add more players to their rank. So a move away from Chelsea might do him good and will also benefit his own career. If there is genuine interest from Newcastle, I think he should consider it, as it's a club that have a passionate fan base and they love an attacking winger. So he'll be appreciated, unlike his current club at the moment. Now, I thought this deal would have been wrapped up by now, as Arsenal fans have made it seem like it's all said and done. well, that is not the case, as Real Sociedad and Arsenal are not coming to terms with the transfer fee for Merino. So as it stands, there's no movement with this deal concluding, but things can change in the coming days. In terms of the profile, I think he would be a good signing for Arsenal. He may not be a starter right away, but he'll provide cover for the number 6 and number 8 row in the team, which is quite valuable as they don't have a lot of strength in depth, in my opinion. So let's see what ends up happening for this deal. I think he would be a good signing if Arsenal get it through the line. Away from the Premier League slightly, AC Milan have just signed Monaco midfielder Yusuf Fofana. The transfer fee is around £20 million, which is peanuts in this day and age. The main reason why I mentioned this transfer news is that he was a player I really wanted Liverpool to sign. So hopefully they don't regret it, as I think he will light up Serie A this season. Another transfer outside of the Premier League, but still has some context with our league, and that is Desiree Doué. Now, the highly rated attacking midfielder has joined PSG. The transfer fee is around 50 million euros, so in pounds, it converts to 42 million. Now, for me, this is a great signing for PSG. If you're not familiar with the player, he's an absolute baller. To make a comparison, I think stylistically, he reminds me of Eden Hazard. So expect him to take Mbappe's place in the PSG team. Obviously, different types of players. And the reason I mention this rumor is because Chelsea showed a lot of interest in signing the player, but unfortunately, he rejected the move in favour of staying in France and playing for PSG. Sticking with PSG, their midfielder Carlos Soler is being linked with a move to West Ham. Now, the Spanish midfielder has found first-team football opportunities very limited since his move from Valencia. The current rumor is that West Ham are exploring a possible loan deal with an option to buy next summer. So I can see this deal happening, and I think it would be another coup for West Ham. Now, this rumor has been floating around for a couple of weeks now, but it now looks like there may be some legs to the story, as Napoli are in negotiations with Brighton to sign Scotland midfielder Billy Gilmour. Initially, they placed a bid of £8 million that got rejected, but there are sources that are suggesting Napoli will place a bid of £12 million, and that should seal the deal. So if this deal is finalised, what a move for the player. He'll be managed by former Tottenham and Chelsea manager Antonio Conte. So let's see what happens in the coming days. Speaking of Chelsea and also Napoli, Romelu Lukaku is continuously being linked with a move to the Italian side. The latest development is that Napoli are ready to present a loan deal with an option to buy or to make that deal permanent for £25 million. But Chelsea aren't interested, as they want a permanent transfer right now for a fee of £30 million. So let's see what happens. But the next transfer could influence this deal, as Chelsea are also interested in Victor Osimhen. But this time, Chelsea are seeking for a loan deal to sign Osimhen. So it sounds like a bit of a circus at Chelsea Football Club. For me, they just need to calm down and stop getting involved in all these transfers. They're getting all trigger happy as soon as the window opens. So if I'm being honest, I don't think neither deals will get done, as Chelsea seem to be quite stubborn with regards to the value or the transfer fee of Lukaku, and there's no way Napoli would accept a loan deal for Osimhen. Sticking with Serie A, Roma striker Tammy Abraham could be set to return to the Premier League, with West Ham showing strong interest. Firstly, it seems like West Ham want to sign every player right now, just like Chelsea. But secondly, I'm not sure if there's any truth to the rumour, as there's been further news that a Saudi club is willing to offer big money to sign Tammy Abraham. So let's see what happens. I can see him making a move in this window, but it remains to be seen what club he joins. Speaking of the Saudi Pro League, it looks like Toney could be heading over to the Middle East, as Al Ahly are in discussion with Brentford to sign the England striker. Al Ahly placed an offer of £35 million, which got rejected by Brentford, as they are holding out for a fee of £50 million. Sources are suggesting that Al Ahly will match the asking price in order to sign Toney. But there's rumours now circulating that Chelsea Surprise, surprise, are trying to hijack the deal. They're getting trigger happy again, it looks like. And I think Ivan Toney will make the move to Saudi as he's not getting genuine interest from a Premier League team, which really surprises me. Personally, I would have loved him to have signed for Liverpool as he's a lethal finisher, and I don't think we have that in our locker. You'd argue Jota could be that person, but he's, for me, very injury prone. Núñez is up for debate. So I feel like if we had a striker like Ivan Toney, he would probably guarantee a huge volume of goals. But let's see what happens with Ivan Toney this summer. Speaking of Ivan Toney, his club teammate Joao Felix is being linked with a surprise move to Wolves. This rumour for me makes no sense at all. Why on earth would Brentford sell Ivan Toney and Wissa in the same window? Wissa has become an integral part of Thomas Frank's team and would be difficult to replace so late in the window. I don't think there's any truth to the rumour, and Wissa will remain as a Brentford player. Now, this is a smart signing from Tottenham, who have just completed a deal for Burnley's Wilson Odobert. He was certainly Burnley's standout player last season. The French winger has huge potential to become a top player. He has a great turn of pace. He's very skillful, and he's a decent finisher as well. And for me, he'll provide versatility for Big Ange, and he's capable of playing left wing or right wing. So I like this signing for Spurs and feel like he'll have a great impact this season. This deal kind of went under the radar as Southampton have added more firepower with the signing of Cameron Archer. Just like Odobert, who I mentioned previously, Archer was by far the standout player for Sheffield United last season. And I think this is a good signing for Southampton. He will be paired with a former teammate in Burton Diaz, who's also on loan at Sheffield United from January. He was certainly a handful whenever I watched Archer. However, I looked at his numbers and that might not paint the picture. As for me, he wasn't as lethal as I thought he was in front of goal. He only scored 4 goals in 30 appearances. So despite his talent, we need to be a lot more clinical in order to help Southampton avoid the relegation drop. Breaking news last night, and that is Chelsea have agreed a permanent deal to sign Atletico's Joao Felix. Sources in Spain are saying it's a £38.4 million deal plus 4.3 in add-ons. So in total, the deal is worth 42.7 million. Now, what do Chelsea fans make of this? For me, from what I've seen on social media, it seems to be a split opinions, as some fans are really excited about his return to Stamford Bridge. Some are disappointed and not pleased with the club. Joao Felix also rejected a move to Aston Villa in order to sign for Chelsea. So Chelsea add another player to their ranks as he becomes their 13th signing of the season. Surprising news that broke last night, and that is that Man City are trying to re-sign Ilkay Gundogan from Barcelona. It's unclear in terms of why he wants to leave the Catalan club, but my gathering is due to financial reasons, as he's on a very high salary there, and they may need to sell players in order to raise funds, but also register new signings. So, for example, Dani Olmo still hasn't been registered to play for Barcelona, so they're still exploring the possibility of selling players like Ilkay Gundogan. If that doesn't happen, then they will be willing to sell one of the young players in Victor Roque, who is a striker, and he will probably be sacrificed in order to facilitate the registration of Dani Olmo. Interesting to see Gundogan being linked with a return to Man City, who, to be fair, haven't really replaced him in terms of his output. He's also got interest from the Middle East. Now, if I was to make a prediction, I think he'll end up in the Saudi Pro League rather than seeing him return to the Premier League. But I'm sure we'll find out in the coming days. No surprise with this rumour, as Raheem Sterling is being linked with a move away from the club. Now, according to reports, it looks like Juventus have shown interest in signing the player. A move away from the league could be good for Raheem Sterling. It will be a fresh challenge abroad, and for me, it could revitalise his career, and it'll also be a great experience from a personal point of view, where he will be living in a different country, different culture, different lifestyle, different way of playing football. So at this stage of his career, it would make sense to move abroad. But let's see what happens, as rumours were always going to circulate after he released that statement for not being included in the Chelsea squad last week against Man City. And the final rumour of the day, and that is a surprise one for me personally, as I wasn't expecting this to pan out the way it has, as Santiago Gimenez is being linked with a move to Nottingham Forest. Now, I say this with all due respect, but Gimenez should not be signing for a club like Nottingham Forest. He is a quality striker and should be moving to a club that's challenging for titles and also playing in Europe. So I'm quite surprised that no other Premier League teams have shown interest. Now, this is your cue, Chelsea. Why not place a bid, as you like to fire so many shots in terms of signing new players? But jokes aside, if Nottingham Forest get this deal done, it could be one of the signs of the summer. That's how impressive it would be for me. And this is not just a rumour. This is actually factual, because Nottingham Forest have had a 21.3 bid rejected for the Mexican striker, but they're still in negotiations to conclude the deal. So it's getting exciting as the window is edging closer. Not from a Liverpool point of view, unfortunately, but that is the end of the show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just got a few comments here before I close the show. Big up Richard, says hi Ozzy, assalamu alaikum. Welcome assalam to you as well, Richard. He says congratulations to Joe Gomez service at Liverpool. 100%. He's been at the club for I think just about 10 years now. Joined the club as the 18-year-old. I remember his debut against Arsenal where he actually played left back, ironically as well. And I think he got man of the match. He was really good when he played. And throughout the years, he's been phenomenal. Obviously, the Premier League season that we won, he was pivotal in that campaign. His partnership alongside Virgil van Dijk, simply unstoppable. Unfortunately for Joe Gomez, injuries has certainly affected his progress in his career. I feel like if he hadn't been injured so many times, then I think he'd be one of England's best defenders, and that's not me going overboard. So, yeah, just a shame he does in terms of those injuries that he's picked. He's not really an injury-prone player, but he's just picked up very serious injuries here and there, and that's unfortunately kept him out. So yeah, all the best to Joe Gomez if he does leave. I'm still hoping he stays at the club, but at this stage, not really hearing much news or much sort of rumours regarding Joe Gomez leaving. I know there's a lot of clubs showing interest with the likes of Newcastle, Chelsea, but from a Liverpool point of view, there hasn't been communicated much in terms of Liverpool wanting him to stay at the club. So disappointing, but it is what it is, I guess. And then Richard's other comment is Mark Gay is expensive, English inflation tax and overpriced. 100%. I think due to his good performances in the Euros, that's definitely played a part in terms of adding, I don't know, another 20 million to his transfer fee. But Newcastle came in with a 65 million plus add-ons bid, and it got rejected. For me, that's wild. But let's see how much they're holding out for, because that makes no sense to me, in my opinion. And Richard said we need reinforcements and squad depth, 100%. Hughes is a fraud. Couldn't agree more. FSG have no ambition. They certainly don't. Lineup and prediction for Brentford. So I'll be doing a match preview show on Thursday where I'll speak a lot more in detail. So make sure to tune in for that one. And in terms of the breakdown for Ipswich Town, I did a match reaction show on Sunday. So feel free to go onto the channel and just rewatch that. Went through the game in a lot more detail. I gave my player ratings, and then we had a couple of callers that came on as well. So yeah, make sure to catch up with that episode there. And then you also said we need I think you mean GK as in goalkeeper, left side centre back, DM and forward. I wouldn't say we need a goalkeeper right now, unless I've missed something where someone's leaving, like in terms of it's Kelleher leaving. But otherwise, if Kelleher is staying and obviously Alisson remains at the club, I wouldn't think it's high on the agenda. I know we're linked with Mamadashvili, but I think that's a long-term investment rather than a signing for right now. So the goalkeeper one, I wouldn't say is top of the list. For me right now, I'd say if Joe Gomez leaves, then you have to kind of push that centre-back position as a priority. If he remains at the club, then we need to focus on signing a defensive midfielder, but it has to be a certain profile. for me, from what I've seen in terms of how Arne Slot plays, it has to be a deep playmaker with technical ability. If I had to put a name out there, for me, it would be Varela from Porto. I feel like he fits the bill. His transfer fees are around 50 to 60 million. So will FSG cough up the funds for that? Who knows? I have no idea. And in terms of the forward, yep, I'd want someone that is a right winger to be an understudy for Mohamed Salah, because that's the area we don't have cover. So let's say Salah's not available for whatever reason. Who really plays in that role? I know Diaz has played there on occasions, Gakpo, Jota, they've all tried their luck there. They really haven't done well there, in my opinion. So I think we all agree in terms of what areas need to be addressed. But will FSG make it happen? No, I don't think so. As much as that hurts to say, it's just a reality, unfortunately. And then Steve, big up Steve, said, "Let's go, champ. Let's go indeed." And Richard says, "Future-proof goalkeeper, 100% in terms of future-proofing our long-term goals and our future squad in the coming years." But we need to think about right now as well. We're not making any investment for the squad right now. That's more of a concern. So that seems more like a business plot where you're doing long-term investments, but what about the short term? We're not going to be successful if you're not signing players for right now. So FSG really need to do something in the coming days. We don't even have that long. And I don't want us signing a Ben Davis or a Kabak or a Arthur Mello, the hologram who I refer to. So I don't want those type of signings where it's a panic buy, a player that doesn't fit the bill, and it's just a signing through the door, because they make a big deal about signing the perfect player. Well, why are you just buying random people then? For me, if you've got an idea of who you'd want to sign, you can't just be one name. There has to be a few names below that list. That's not how football works. So, yeah, it is what it is. So you said, what is FSG plan selling and loaning all these players out? Honestly, Steve, I don't even know, because we're selling a lot of players. So the rumor that I also read today, but I'll speak about it tomorrow because I'm doing a Liverpool transfer talk show specifically for us Liverpool fans, is that Vandenberg is being linked with a move to Brentford. I think the fees are around 20 million. So, we're getting all these funds for all these fringe players, to be respectful. But where's this money going to? We're not reinvesting in the squad. So is this just going into FSG's pocket to fund other ventures that they're trying to pursue, i.e. an NBA club? I don't know. Because right now, we've not spent a penny. I mentioned on the top of the show, Ipswich Town signed Calvin Phillips. That's their 9th signing. But they've actually signed another player from Napoli. They've signed I think it's a Swedish centre midfielder. And I think they're on the verge of signing another player. So it makes sense. Not even signing a single player. So really, really annoying. Steve says, Richard's in the house. Big up Richard as always, and big up Steve as well. And Richard says, Mbemo right wing. I wouldn't mind him, if I'm being honest. I did say I wouldn't mind anyone to come into the team, but he looks a good player. For me, it would be the transfer fee. How much would he cost? Because I know there was rumors suggesting he'd be available for around 50 million. I think that's quite high. For someone that will predominantly be a backup player, I feel like there could be other options out there. But hey, beggars can't be choosers. I'd take him all day long right now. So yeah, he would be a good option for that right wing position. Steve says areas that need to be addressed now, i.e. left back, number 6 wide, attacker, striker. Yeah, the left back for me is going to be a hybrid of a centre back / left back. It won't be just left back, but it'll be interesting to see what we do in the summer, because if we don't sign a centre back, my assumption would be Joe Gomez stays as 4th choice centre back. But then next year, I do feel like our priority position would be a left back, because Robertson, as good of a player he has been for us over the years, for me, it looks like he's slowing down a bit. And I feel like his days as first choice will be numbered, in my opinion, especially in the way Arne Slot plays, where it's more technical, it's a bit more high-paced. Not as high-paced, I would say, in comparison to Klopp's ball, but it's more where you got to move around, quick passing, one touch here and there, so it's going to make a big difference. So So yeah, I think left back will probably be addressed next year, if I'm being honest. But they could, do a 2-in-1 where they sign a centre back who's left-footed and can also play left back. Which for me, I'm all for it. It has to be a good level player, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So let's see. Which just says Steve is in the house too, and then Steve also says FSG are selling Becca next summer. Yeah, that would be the hunch, I think, especially when you're signing Mamadashvili. Why would a player want to sign a club knowing he'd come in 12 months' time? Because he would have been given assurances that he would be a starter, right? So, obviously, I don't have any sort of concrete news with regards to this, but I have a feeling it might be where Erson Becker has signalled to the board to let them know that he'd want to stay one more year and then he'd probably move elsewhere. I think it'd probably come more from Alisson Becker rather than anything else. And not to sound silly, it might be due to the fact that Klopp has left. And, a lot of us will say, well, managers come and go. At Liverpool, it's different. We have a different culture when we sign, or should we say, appoint managers / coaches. He was really attached to Klopp, and I feel like him leaving and retiring now, he's not going to be part of football management anytime soon. I think it hurt him. So, yeah, for me, I feel like the club should be doing a lot more to keep on board because he's only 31 years old. That is so young for a goalkeeper. So he's got plenty of time to continue to help Liverpool in the long term to win trophies. Still a world-class keeper, but yeah, FSG, they run a business. That's how it is, unfortunately. It's not about sentiment for them sometimes. So we've got to take it the way it is now. And then Steve just saying thumbs up to Richard. And Steve says, are FSG selling and loaning players out because they are streamlining the books of LFC and preparing the sale of their asset called LFC to allow FSG to buy NBA teams? Honestly, Steve, I have no idea. I know they've always had interest in acquiring an NBA team. That's why they've formed that partnership with LeBron James in the last few years. I'd be very annoyed if they're selling these loan players or selling these fringe players or loaning players out to gather funds in order to reinvest in other ventures. It needs to be reinvested into the club straight away, and that includes transfer funds. So if that's the case, Liverpool fans haven't really protested in terms of FSG out, but I think it might begin because that is not acceptable. And if we really don't sign any players this window, we're going to take 2 steps back before we take any steps forward, because right now we have a good squad, but it's only a few players away from really challenging for titles. But give it 12 months, other teams will reinvest in their squad. Teams are signing players left, right, and centre, so we'll be left behind and we'll have more work to do, because then there might be more problems that arise next year where some players aren't good enough or they've picked up big injuries and we need to replace them. So anything can happen in 12 months. But right now, they're not even looking for the next 2 weeks rather than the next 2 years. So frustrating owners. I don't mind the way they do business, but for me, it's like they don't have ambition. They don't invest enough. And when they do invest, it has to be like, in their world, the perfect signing. Sometimes in football, you have to take gambles in terms of acquiring a player that's low investment. And if Liverpool was signing players from Argentina, Brazil, or other countries across the world, and there was a top prospect from Argentina who cost 10 million, I don't think us fans will be that annoyed about it. It still shows that, we're trying to address a position that we don't have a lot of numbers or quality in the squad. So if we were able to do that, I'd be all for it. I wouldn't mind that. It's just that we're not signing anyone. No one has walked through the door. That's my concern. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in the next 11 days or so. Steve said Robbo should have been sold in 2022. Rob been horrible on the pitch last 2 years. Robbo was a nightmare first time against Ipswich. He's lost a yard of speed. And in that fullback role, you need to be moving up and down. And for me, he doesn't seem as agile as he was before. And you can't even convert him into a centre-back role, because that's what tends to happen with fullbacks. When they've lost a bit of speed, they end up converting to centre-back role. He wouldn't be bad in that position, but for me, it'd be in a back three rather than a back four. I don't think he'll suit a back four, but yeah, I think he's probably kept on due to his sort of leadership quality. He's still a good player, but when you're trying to play a different brand of football, a different style of football, you need players across the pitch that suit the style of the coach. And right now, I feel like we need energy everywhere, especially at fullback positions. Where I feel like the fullbacks that we have, they will be given the license to really go push down and attack the flanks. So we need to really make sure that position is addressed. It just won't be in this window, unfortunately. So will it be next summer? It's obviously say yes, but it's FSG. You never know. So we can't hold that against them at the minute. No quality signings this window, and Jan 2025. Bye-bye, i.e. Becker, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, Max Salah, their last season at Liverpool. That is the concern for me in terms of if we don't make any new signings this window, what does it suggest in terms of our ambition as a club? Because you mentioned Salah, Trent, and Van Dijk, 3 players that are on their last year of their contract, and from January are able to discuss or agree pre-contract deals with other clubs across Europe. So what's there to stop them? A lot of people say, well, Trent's a Scouser. Why would he leave the club? But the thing is, as much as he loves the club, he needs to look out for himself and his career. So I feel like if you think Trent will definitely agree a contract with the club because he's a boyhood Liverpool fan, I think you need to smell the coffee. It's not how it works, because he is a professional football player. So he needs to think about his career. He needs to think about his status, his legacy. And yes, if he stays at Liverpool, he'll have an unbelievable legacy because he's won it all. And obviously, he will eventually go on to become captain if he stays at the club. But right now, if the club aren't showing that ambition, what's to say he won't leave? We've signed players in the past that are really good quality. Like, one player that comes to mind is Mascherano. He left because we were going through the mud in terms of we weren't showing ambition in our transfer windows. Even Xabi Alonso, although he had more of an issue with Rafa Benitez, which is why he left, because we tried to sign Gareth Barry the season before. So we've had top players that have left because the club have not shown ambition in the transfer market. Mascherano and Fernando Torres come to mind with regards to that as well. So yeah, what I'm seeing on the pitch is positive. I'm intrigued by what Arne Slot is trying to develop with the squad, but what's happening off the field is alarming. And I'm trying not to swear because I like to keep it clean on my show, but it's very disturbing times in terms of what Liverpool are doing in terms of the transfer market, because they've appointed Michael Edwards, who a lot of fans lauded, saying, oh yes, we've got him back. We'll be making those signings that we have done in the previous years. But then he signs his best mate, Richard Hughes, who for me is just not at the level. And I would love for him to prove me wrong in terms of that he's not at this level, because apparently he has a good reputation. In terms of his track record, he hasn't signed anyone elite for his previous clubs. Suggests for me that, he's the one that can get players through the line. And I hope he's not going to, these meetings with potential players and saying, we're a Liverpool Football Club, you need to join us. You have to sell a vision, you have to sell a project, because this might sound rude, but I'm going to say it how it is. When we had Jurgen Klopp, he was a massive pull for players. Yes, Liverpool Football Club is a big club. It's one of the top clubs in world football due to our history and what we've won over the years. But that's not enough to sell to a player. You have to sell the project, the vision, the manager's philosophy, how the manager views the player. Will he be first team player? Is he pivotal in terms of how the team's set up? A lot of factors come into that sort of discussion there. So I don't know. At this stage, it's worrying. If you don't sign players, it will show lack of ambition, and I wouldn't even hold it against these players for leaving, because we're Liverpool Football Club. We should be trying to win every title out there, but the owners aren't matching the ambitions of the club. So, it is what it is, I guess. Steve says local fans in Liverpool are brainwashed by FSG propaganda machine of lies and spin. That's why they ain't protested yet. Well, if we don't sign anyone and I don't hear anything, then that's alarming as well. Because, and it's not just about spending money and signing players through the door. We need reinforcements. There's a lot of gaps in our teams in our squads where we are playing in a lot of competitions, including the Champions League now. So we'll be playing games of high magnitude. So there will come a point where players are getting injured due to fatigue and playing too many games and all that sort of stuff. So we have to address that. We have to rotate the squad. Pep Guardiola, I'm not saying because he's got a squad full of players that are probably worth $1 billion altogether, but the reason why he's so successful with this, he rotates his squad continuously. He's happy to make 5-6 changes per game. We should be able to do that as well, because we do have a lot of quality in our squad, but there's some areas where it's just not enough or inexperience, and it's areas we're not addressing. We should have addressed the number 6 role about 2-3 years ago. We're still waiting on appointing another number 6. The left side centre back, that should have happened years ago as well. A backup right winger, that should have happened a lot longer. Around the time we probably signed Mohamed Salah. So it's not areas that have just arisen where we need to address, because last year that was more of a do you know what? These players, they don't have the legs. We need to get rid of Fabinho and Henderson. But they were only sold because Saudi Arabia wanted to make a statement and sign big names from Europe. So we were fortunate in regards to that. They might have stayed at the club if they weren't interested from Saudi Arabia. So, very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. What is the reason why FSG are still at Liverpool? It's because they've made a lot of money acquiring Liverpool Football Club. They bought the club around £300 million all those years ago, and now it's worth, I think, in the 5 billion. I think 5 billion is the mark that I saw somewhere. I read somewhere. So I don't know if 5 billion, that's a bit high, isn't it? But we're worth a lot more, a lot of money right now. So they're easily able to sell the club and make a huge profit. But if they continue to own the club and they're able to obtain more commercial rights and sponsorship deals and all sorts, they're able to acquire more money. And that's how Liverpool make their money, through partnership deals with manufacturers and different companies all over the world. So that's why we're a huge asset for them, and we're a high value asset. So they won't be willing to sell right away. It'll be when the time is right, that's when they'll do it. And the time is right probably when they feel like they can't do anything to help the club in any shape or form. Feels like that right now. They're not helping us. So does that mean they might be possibly looking to sell the club? Who knows? We did get that sort of news last year where David Ornstein suggested that they might be willing to sell a portion of the club. But even if they sell a portion, they still have the ultimate power to make those powerful decisions in the end. So, I don't know. I don't know, to be fair. Richard, FSG moving broke. Yeah, that's how they always have been, to be fair. Would you sell Tsimikas or Robertson? Good question. I feel like it's a tricky question, because I feel like Tsimikas is a good player, but I don't think he's good enough to be Liverpool first choice. And Robertson still has better skill sets in comparison to Tsimikas, but I feel like he's lacking in pace, so that's kind of affected his game altogether. So this window, I'd keep both of them, being honest, but If I had to sell, I'm not too sure because I just have a feeling Tsimikas, if he's given a chance, he might do well in his Arne Slot team. I feel like he's really suited to the way he plays. So I'm a bit on the fence on that one, if I'm being honest. A few weeks ago, I probably would have said Tsimikas because I feel like Robertson still has experience and still plays to a very high level. But I feel like we're lacking that sort of dynamic play on that left wing, or that left flank, I should say. So who knows? Which is which left back would you get? So I'm a big fan of this player. I mentioned him in the past a few times in my transfer shows. There's a player at Ajax called Joao Felix. He is a left back / centre back. I think he signed a contract last year where it's up to 2026. So obviously he'd cost a bit, but he wouldn't cost more than 40, 50 million. He's an exciting prospect. He's 18, 19 years old. Bags of energy, really quick on the ball, good technique. He can shoot as well. So for me, he would fit that left back role perfectly, where he has the sort of attacking qualities, but defensively he's very sound as well. So for me, he would be my first choice for that left back role / centre back. So it's a hybrid role. I feel like he would be a fantastic addition. I'm really surprised that Liverpool haven't looked into him, because I'm sure he would tick a lot of their metrics when they do their data analysis, and I'm sure Arne Slot would give a glowing reference, obviously watching him in the Eredivisie as well. So Hato would be the guy that I'd want to see at Liverpool, whether it happens. Seems like a far-fetched dream, if I'm being brutally honest with you guys. Steve saying to Richard, obviously you need to raise their bread to buy the NBA team. They hopefully will sell their biggest asset for Liverpool. Look, if that is the case, I'm all for it. Sell all these fringe players and then let us know that you're selling the club to acquire NBA team. This is a football team where we've got high ambitions. You can't just manage us where you invest here and there over the years. It's a continuous project. So if they want to focus on getting an NBA team, it's all right. It's all good. Please sell us to the highest bidder and let us move forward as a club, because right now it feels a bit stalemate in terms of what the club are trying to do on and off the pitch. And maybe they've hit the ceiling, but will they admit it? I don't think so. That's just my thoughts on terms of FSG there. Also, Robo and we're getting, Steve knows about Hato, so I'm not the only one. So yeah, Hato is the one that I'd want as well. So I can't. Maybe there's a little bit of sentiment of me not selling Robertson right now. I think currently, if I had to make a choice, I'd keep both, and then bring Hato as well, because Hato can occupy that left back, that centre back position as well. And then next year you can review Tsimikas and Robertson's performance. Whoever hasn't performed to their level can be sold next year. So that's how I do it. But I'm all for that. But I don't think we'll be addressing left back anytime soon. What would be your plan to get Trent, VVD, Salah to sign new deals? What would be my plan? My plan would be to sign some players of good quality to show that Liverpool mean business and that we want to compete in all cylinders. Right now, we're not, so I don't really have a pitch for them. And if they want to have discussions with other teams, what can you say to them? You can't hold them with regards to, you've been at the club for years, show some loyalty. The thing is, they're employees. You got to speak in business terms as well. If they want to treat this club as a business, let's speak in business terms right now. They are employees. They are not. They're not loyal to an extent where they can't move elsewhere. They haven't signed a deal to death or anything like that. They are free to discuss with clubs on a legal standpoint from January onwards. Liverpool have messed up once again. We have let so many players over the years go on free transfers. It blows my mind. Why do we not sell those players a year on before? Why not be smart in the market? You're so good at selling all of these fringe players that no one heard of, but you're able to flip them and then get a good profit out of them. why not be smart with these squad players as well? Where the likes of Emre Can, he went out on a free. We could have sold him to a German club and got some money for him. Gini Wijnaldum. Why would it? Bobby Firmino. Why would Sadio Mane? Why would they? Why do we have to wait until the contract ended? It's ridiculous. So they don't move like a big club. That's just how it is. Steve said, if I was director of football of LFC, I would offer Berg plus cash on top and sign Toney. I'd love Toney at the club. I'm not gonna lie to you. I would love Toney. I think we need a striker like him where it's not always about being a build-up player or attacking the channels and stuff. I need someone who's around that 6-yard box and killing the ball with their finishes. I need a lethal finisher in front of goal, fox in the box, however you want to describe it. That's the type of striker I want. Ivan Toney for me fits the bill. He's at that age where probably about to hit his peak. He's a boyhood Liverpool fan as well. Everyone's on the train of Anthony Gordon. Oh, we got to sign in Scouser, Liverpool fan. Tony's not a Scouser, but he's a Liverpool fan. He's said it out loud plenty of interviews in the past. So why not make that signing? It's not how FSG do things, unfortunately. Also, I would offer Joe Gomez plus cash on top for Wharton. I don't think they'll sell Wharton, but Wharton, Palace was smart in terms of making that acquisition. And I've always said about Palace where they should be investing in players from the Championship because it's a gold mine. But I don't feel like enough clubs do it because Palace over the last few years have signed Eze, Elise, and Wharton from the Championship directly. So they should continue with that philosophy because it works. And there's a lot of talent in that league. And I just feel like it slept on at times. But let's see, because at the minute, I don't think they're selling Gay. I know Newcastle have made 4 bids now. They've all been rejected. So Joe Gomez wouldn't go to Palace unless Gay is sold. He would be his replacement. But I don't know. It remains to be seen. Steve has also said, splash the cash on signing Hato Lukeba and Arno winning the quad with Hato Lukeba, Wharton, Toney over TFSG. Yeah. As good as that sounds, that is, you will get the door slammed on your face if you pitch that to FSG because, yeah, that's a lot of M's involved in that one. And Steve will say, Robertson, Van Dijk, Salah players should have been brought. Yeah. This is what the club always missed the trick. When you've got these players that are not approaching towards the end, I don't want to be disrespectful like that, but you have to future-proof. Like we're getting Mamadashvili right now in replacing Alisson, but as we've already said, I feel like it's because Alisson's probably giving an indication that he wants to leave in the next year. So they've reacted based on that. But there should be moments where if a player's, like a Robertson, he's like losing a bit of pace, not quite the player there. Why not sign someone, bring like a young prospect, and bring them to the club? They can learn off Robertson in terms of how he plays and his professionalism, because it rubs off people as well when you surround yourself with people like that in the squad. So, it's bigger than just buying players and bringing them in. Like the atmosphere within squads is very important. The humility, the way people interact. If you bring someone in and they've already got accustomed to that, it's only a matter of time that they break into the team and they would have felt a part of the team anyway because they've been surrounding themselves with these players. So what do I know? I'm just a content creator. But FSG seem to know what they're doing. I don't buy it. For football reasons, are keeping FSG at Liverpool. So I think you mean FSG keeping LFC. Is that you saying is for football reasons? Is FSG keeping Liverpool? Not for football reasons. They're keeping Liverpool because they're the biggest assets. They're the one that makes them the most money. I think with our sponsorship, with all that stuff. So yeah, that's why we were still one on their books. FSG are running the LFC squad like a Sunday League pub team, not on pennies. Well, at least they're spending pennies when you're a Sunday League pub team. We haven't spent a single penny. So make it make sense. Steve also says FSG used to have a sell to buy policy. Now the policy is sell to sell. Yeah, sell to sell to sell to make more money. That's what it is right now. What can you say? Steve also says, is LFC the best run club in the world? FSG in the top result. Keep telling me LFC best run club on Twitter. No, we are not the best run club in the world. We do certain things really well in terms of acquiring partnership deals because that's what's helped us generate a lot of revenue over the years. But no, I don't agree with that. So if you disagree with my opinion there, feel free to drop a comment. Let me know why you think Liverpool are the best run club in the world. We're not. We're not ambitious as a football club. We are Liverpool Football Club. We are a club with heritage, with prestige, history, however you want to phrase it. We are a big club, full stop. But we don't move like that. We don't do anything where we make a lot of mistakes than doing the right things at this club when it comes to on the pitch business, where signing players and acquiring players at the right time. I always feel like we leave things too late. We were screaming out for a left back over the years, and it took about 3 years for Simicast to come through the door. And it's just like, and we had to sell Lovren, from what I remember, to fund that Simicast deal. Like, why do we have to do business like that? We have generated a lot of funds through merchandise. I know the Nike deals bringing us a lot of M's. So why are we not using that money to the squad? When we signed that Nike deal, there was talks that, we might have the potential power to sign a player like Mbappe or a Bellingham. They haven't walked through the door. Yes, they rejected, well, especially Bellingham, he rejected a move to Liverpool, but it's coming from the club. The energy wasn't there. They didn't show ambition to the player in terms of what they wanted, because it would have just been Bellingham and no one else. So I don't know. I don't. I love my club, but I don't think we're the best run club. Otherwise, we wouldn't be frustrated right now. If we were the best run club, we would have had all the positions that we always discuss about every week addressed already. We would have already had a left-sided centre back. We already had a right winger backup for Mohamed Salah. We would have had a number 6. So I wouldn't need to speak about potential champions coming in. And when Liverpool fans or content creators like myself say that we need these players to come in, people think we're being spoiled or we're privileged for asking for these signings. Why? Clubs are making signings left, right, and centre. Why can't we add players to our squad? So I don't get it. Tell me a left-sided centre back that we have in the squad. We don't have one. Every club in this league has a left-footed centre back. We don't have one. Some clubs have 2. Arsenal have Calafiori and Gabriel and QER. 3 centre backs that can play left back or left back, centre back. However you want to phrase it, they can play those 2 roles. We don't have anyone that can do that in our team. Who's a backup for Mohamed Salah? Can't say Bendo. He's a kid. He's like 16, 17 years old. Can't mention his name. Jota can't play on the right. Gakpo can't. Diaz, I guess he can do a shift, but it's not his natural position. And I'm not saying it has to be a left-footed wing, a left-footed player on the right wing. It doesn't necessarily need to be that way. But you haven't got a player who predominantly plays on the right wing. That's the frustration for me. So I'm sure a lot of fans will, have their views with regards to the ownership. And look, I'll put it out there as well. I don't mind the way the club do business. Like, in terms of the money we've generated through the sales of Carvalho and Bobby Clark and potentially Sepp Vandenberg as well, those are great deals. I would never thought in a million years we'd get 28 million for Carvalho. We signed him for like 5 million. So obviously, yeah, we made profit on him. So in that regards, yes, FSG do good business. They're very smart in terms of generating revenue. But they're not good at acquiring players. They're not ambitious enough. They're not smart in the market. I know our recruitment has been great over the years, but for me, we don't do enough. I just don't feel like we're that smart, and that's being brutally honest. There's been times in the past where we've been linked with players a year later where we could have signed them for like a quarter of the price a year before. I'll give you examples. Enzo Fernandez, I know he's a bit terrible now, but he was available for 8 million. I know it was about 12 million. We didn't want to pursue the deal. The following year, how much was he sold for? 110? Obviously, it's Chelsea, so obviously they're a bit clueless in terms of spending money on players. The player that we're linked to right now, Varela, he was available for 8 million last year with Boca Juniors. Why did we not sign him? Especially with these South American players. If you sign him for low investment like that 8 to 10 million mark and bring him to the UK, if they're not able to flourish, you can still sell them on to Portugal or Spain and still, or even Italy, and still make a profit on them. So we're not smart like that. We really aren't. We make good acquisitions here and there, but I don't feel like we make good long-term investments. We don't make investments at the right time. Number 6 position should be addressed 2-3 years ago. It's 2024. Why are we still addressing that position now? We had to sign a stopgap player in Endo last year, and that's no offense to him, but we should have signed a different profile. This is a frustration at FSG. So I disagree. I don't think we're the best run club in the world. We're not even the best run club in the country, but that's just my opinion. Steve says, how does the best run club in the world, FSG in top res, tell me this? Allow your best 3 players to be in their last year of their deals, mind-boggling. If we somehow don't have Van Dijk, Trent, and Salah in the squad next year because they signed for other clubs, we are in the mud on a different level next year. I'm telling you now. We'll be a mid-table team. We'll be fighting battles with Chelsea to stay in that top half. That might sound like an exaggeration because we're a Liverpool Football Club, right? But the reality is, when you have elite players in your team, they are all elite. They are all world class. Rival fans won't admit it because of their biased agenda. But once they leave the club, you'll hear it from them. So you all know football. You all watch the game. They have been the best players in their positions over the years. Trent has been arguably one of the best right backs in the last few years. Van Dijk, for me, is probably one of the best centre backs I've ever seen in my lifetime. And Mohamed Salah's numbers as a right winger, phenomenal, out of this world. If those 3 players left, that's suicidal from Liverpool. And that's when FSG will end up selling the club. I'm telling you. Because how are they replacing 3 world-class players like that? How can you replace them without spending money? You can't. So they have really shot themselves in the foot, because if those players go next year, oh my God, I don't even want to think about it because I'm already annoyed with this current window. Can you imagine if we don't sign anyone in this window, no players in January, and then 3 of our best players leave next summer? Yeah, we're done. We're done. Steve says Bellingham next rejected LFC. MSG never made the bid. Who knows? Who knows now? Steve also said, why do FSG target players that they know ain't leaving the club and decided to join other clubs? FSG playing their sheep, clown, fan space with their spin of lies and deceit. Well, the Zubimendi, though, is a good example. He's rejected moves from a number of clubs. He's rejected a move to Barcelona, which is a club in Spain. So it's not like he didn't want to stay in Spain. That wasn't his requirement there. He just didn't want to leave Real Sociedad. So if a player is that devoted and that loyal to his club, he's not looking to leave. Now, whatever spin you made in terms of the negotiations to make him show interest or agree to possibly join Liverpool, you got to make sure you seal the deal. You can't fumble the way we did. It's embarrassing. We had a release clause. We tried to negotiate a release clause. That's schoolboy error right there. But you also know the player doesn't really want to leave the city that he's from. Look, I don't mean to be rude, but for me, that shows the player doesn't have ambition, where he doesn't want to move abroad, because a lot of players have to move abroad in order to fulfill their potential or to really enhance their legacy. So if he wants to stay at his home, at his boyhood club, where, let's be honest, they're not winning the title, they're not really competing in Champions League or anything like that, then let him be. Find another target. You're telling me you do all of this research in terms of your data, where you check all the metrics in terms of how they perform on the pitch. I also know Liverpool do a lot of research with regards to off-the-field stuff in terms of their reputation, what they're like outside of football, and things like that, their characteristics, and all that sort of stuff. So where was that research? Where the player doesn't want to actually leave the club. It's part of the same research. So for me, it shows incompetence from the sporting director, Richard Hughes. And that's why, for me, I feel like he's a fraud. And if he makes a signing, I'll take my words back. But right now, I can't think elsewhere. For me, he's a fraud. How can you not sign a player? I don't want to hear any excuses if you're FSG in or out. I don't care. Why have we not signed the player yet? We have funds. We've got 20 million for Carvalho. We got 10 million for Bobby Clark. Got 30 million. Buy someone for 30 million. Oh, this club. If no quality players are signed, who are you going to crash it on? At this stage, I'm looking at Richard Hughes. It's his job. A lot of people will point right at the top and say FSG. Yes, they have a role to play because they are the owners. They appoint certain people to be in position to make those deals happen. So, i.e., Richard Hughes has been brought in by the CEO of football, who is Michael Edwards, to be the sporting director, to manage the sporting element of the football club, i.e., acquire talent for the first team as well as the youth teams. That's his role. He is the person that is supposed to paint the sporting vision at the club. If he's not signing anyone, what's he doing? Seriously, what is he doing? So I'm not hearing that. So for me, the blame goes on the sporting director. And I've also heard rumors that Michael Edwards has actually got involved in the negotiations, or some sort of that. I don't know what negotiations, because there is no negotiations from what I know. We haven't been linked with anyone. But apparently he's been involved in the negotiations. Maybe it was that Zubimendi deal. So if someone's had to come out of their day-to-day and do a role that they used to do because that guy can't get the job done, for me, that's a poor appointment. Why have you appointed your best mate? If he's not capable of doing the job, don't just bring your mates to the office. He has to be worthy of being a sporting director at a local football club. He's not it. He's not that guy. So for me, it has to be pointed at Richard Hughes. If we had signed Zubimendi, we'd be like, you know what, that's a good deal. We did a good deal there, and Richard Hughes would get credit. But if you fumble the bag and you flop the deal, it's on you, because you're the one that's actually negotiating the deals. And in terms of that particular deal, because that's the only reference I've got now, I don't really have any other deals that we've been trying to pursue. The funds were available to meet that release clause, but for some reason, I don't know if it came from FSG or Richard Hughes, who tried to be a smart ass. He tried to negotiate a lesser fee to make himself look good to his superior, i.e. Michael Edwards and John Henry. So he's the one that flopped the deal. That's the point. That's the person I'm looking at in all aspects. He is the one to point the finger at. So if we don't get anyone through the door, it's Richard Hughes for me that is to blame. He also said in his press conference that July is going to be quiet because everyone's on international duty, and August is going to be manic. So let's see it. Right now, it's dead quiet. I can see tumbleweed going past me right now. That's how quiet it is. I got a Liverpool transfer talk to do tomorrow. What am I talking about? I don't know. There's not that many rumours or deals that I can discuss about Liverpool. Obviously, I'm trying my best and engage with you guys tomorrow. But my point is, I don't have a lot to work with because there is no news coming out. They're trying to keep it behind closed doors, but at the same time, there's no inkling, there's no knowledge from anyone to say that we are actually going to sign players. So yeah, one common denominator there, which is Hughes. That's the one I'm pointing the finger at. Chelsea linked to Gomez, bloody hell. Chelsea linked to everyone, isn't it? Crazy. Swap deal with Lavia, that is. Is that what you're suggesting or that's what you're hearing? I'm not having that. Lavia's not stepping in my club. No way. After he mugged us off last year. No, he's not coming. He's not welcomed. Steve, I'm still waiting for the Coutinho replacement. Aren't we all, fella? Aren't we all? Aren't we all? What's it going to take for the local fans to see through FSG propaganda, spin of lies, and turn on FSG? Trent, Van Dijk, Salah to leave on a free. The pro start. I think that will probably trigger it. To be honest, it has to be something huge for the fan base to come together to protest, because right now it's looking bleak in terms of what we're doing as a football club. But if we want to make any acquisitions in January and lose these 3 players before next summer, that's the worst case scenario that you can think of right now. So I think that would definitely create a reaction from the fan base. It has to. Especially if Trent leaves, I feel like it will hurt the local fans that you're referring to even more so. It will hurt me because I love Trent. I think he's such a phenomenal player. But if you're a Scouser, you feel it even more. Because he should have stayed at the club. He should have been the Liverpool captain for years to come. So they'd feel it a bit more, in my opinion. But, you don't have to be a local fan to feel it. I would feel it likewise as well. And for me, yeah, even the thought of that for me is just like doing my head in right now. Because that is just absolute cowboy way of running business. If that's what happens next year, let's see. FSG targets Zubimendi, knowing he was never leaving Real Sociedad. But Zubimendi surprised FSG by saying yes, and then FSG walked away from the player. I don't know. There's a lot of spins in terms of what happened with the deal. For me, I don't know. I've gone through the scenario in my head so many times. I don't even know what's wrong, what's not. All I know is Richard Hughes fumbled. There was a release clause. You just have to match it. FSG, from what I know, gave the funds to Richard Hughes to match that deal. The player showed interest, saying yes. But in the space of trying to negotiate the release clause, I feel like the player might have got a bit, not frustrated, but had second thoughts in terms of should he really make this move, and in the end thought it wasn't for him. If you'd been a bit more aggressive, direct, say boom, here's the funds, because in La Liga it's different. When you have it's not even a release one, it's a buyout clause, so you have to liaise with the league, give them the funds to release you from your contract, and then the player is free to sign to Liverpool. And normally a club would give you the funds to do that. So Liverpool were ready to give the funds to Zubimendi, to speak to La Liga, to release him from the contract in order to sign for Liverpool. That's how it would have worked. So yeah, make it what you will, but FSG ain't signed a player yet because they are busy monitoring players. Monitor FC. We monitor a lot of players. And it's players that we might not all be aware of, but you'll know their names next year because they'll be bought by someone else. They'll make a name and they'll be available for about 100 million. It's happened. I'm going off track record right now. Steve will also comment saying, I've been told FSG employ staff to run LFC for them. But FSG say what the budget is. Makes sense of these stupid comments. I've been told by FSG in top red fans. Yeah, I don't know. We never have a budget. I literally feel like when our transfer window begins, it's on zero. We try and raise funds from sales of selling finished players, and then that's when the budget is presented. It's never been where, do you know what? Every summer, Jurgen Klopp will on a slot now. You've got 50 million plus sales. We've never had that kind of structure. It's always been, we'll make some sales, and then we'll try and make things happen. You know, we sold Carvalho last year. You can get him. Like, it's going to be like that, where we've sold players that play like yourself for, we've got the money to reinvest. But times change. You go to a local supermarket, did the breast cost as much as it does now that it did a few years ago? Of course not. The world changes, the time evolves. FSG are standing still right now. It's an absolute joke. Steve says, I'm crashing it all on FSG. Hughes are just FSG fall guys. Fair enough. I wouldn't say you're completely wrong, but for me, I'm only going in terms of the reference of that Zubimendi deal. I think that was Richard Hughes. Because for me, he's not really a worthy candidate to be a sporting director at the club. What track record did he have to make him a highly regarded candidate? What did he do? He signed Ake from Chelsea. He signed Justin Kluivert from Roma. That doesn't suggest to me that this guy's the guy for the Liverpool job. Give me the West Ham sporting director all day long. Look at the signings that he's making. That's the level of a sporting director I want at my club. Not because he's making lots of signings. He's signing good profile players that fits the style of play that the coach wants. We're not helping the coach. And if anyone points the finger on Arne Slot, shame on you. Because you can't blame Arne Slot in this occasion, in my opinion. He's just walked in through the door. He's a coach. He's a head coach. His title is not even manager now. Head coach. He's there to coach the players. Whatever happens behind him is what happens behind him. Steve says FSG are the only skint billionaires I know when it comes to squad investment at LFC, but FSG have no problem with spending $3 billion on the PGA Tour franchise. Make it make sense, Steve. Make it make sense. If you don't get any, they will go to different clubs. Yeah, I don't blame these players going to different clubs, if I'm being honest with you. Richard said, every player we buy will be at risk, but they need time to adapt. Of course, any player you sign is a risk. There's no guaranteed transfer at all in world football. Mbappe played against Mallorca the other day. The Real Madrid fans are laughing at him. They're calling him Eden Hazard 2.0. They're making a mockery of a player that we all regard as one of the best players in world football because their expectations are so high. That's the kind of club I want to be, where I have high expectations. Mbappe would be a fantastic signing for any club, but it has to be the right fit for where you are. So if we sign a 10 million player from Argentina in comparison to an English player who's 50 million in this country, they're both risks. But you've got to do the research. You've got to allow the scouts to do their job and come up with suggestions, say, this is the guy to take us forward. Maybe our scouts are the issues as well. Are they not finding the right talent? Because me being a content creator, this is a hobby for me. I can give you a list of players that I feel like could do a job for Liverpool. So hire me as a scout. Why not? I'm sure I'll do a better job because right now, we're not targeting anyone, or we're not thinking there's this DM out there that could do a job for Liverpool. It's Zubimendi or nothing. That's what it feels like. So, ridiculous. Just got another comment here from Steve. He says Zubimendi has a buyout clause, 51 million. FSG gave the money to Zubimendi's solicitor and he pays his club, and Zubimendi joins LFC. Obviously, he had no bread. That's why too many deal collapsed. I don't know about that one, to be honest with you. I think the funds were available for Zubimendi or his lawyers, whatever, however you want to phrase it, to pay that release clause. But I'll be honest with you, we'll never know the truth. It will always just be assumptions because these sort of deals, you never really get the full picture until like years later, possibly, or you will never know the truth, unfortunately. So all I know is Zubimendi is not joining the club. He seemed to be happy at one point to join the club, and the next few days he was like, "No, I'm staying at Real Sociedad because I love my club, I love my city." So, Steve at Richard bringing quality players, they will settle in very quickly to the team. Yeah, but I feel like even if you sign quality players, sometimes they might not fit to the style of play of the coach. Because we can't just sign any player right now to fit into this Arnold Slot team. It has to be certain players that have a sense of understanding of the system, i.e., the technical players. Because I feel like in this team, you need to be very technical. You can't just be a player that's a destroyer like an Endo. Endo doesn't fit this style of play, unfortunately. So we need to sign right players in right positions. Who knows? Richard says, Steve, I understand what you mean. Few players will hit ground running. Every deal is a risk. Some deals obviously higher risk than others. It's always a risk. But in football, you've got to take risks. There's no guarantees in football. Some players you're like, you know what? I think he's gonna smash it. Like for example, when Salah came, I knew he'd do well, but not to this level. Same with Mane. Van Dijk was probably one player I was like, do you know what? This is the centre back I want. I was at FSG. It's Van Dijk or nothing. I really wanted Van Dijk, and then he hit the ground running. So for me, I thought Van Dijk was going to be elite eventually, but even his impact was huge. Became the best defender in the world in like such a short space of time. Steve says West Ham Dynasty football was targeted by Klopp in 2022. Rest is history. What's his name? Tim Stuyton. Yeah, he's the technical director. Yeah, so they're calling him. Yeah, he's got a great reputation. At Bayer Leverkusen, that was his former club. So yeah, look for Mr. Trick there as well, I guess. Steve said Real Madrid looked through LFC history from 1970 to 1990 and copied our blueprint of the boot room, and that's why Real Madrid are 3 years ahead of the curve. But we don't want to run a football club like that. We don't want to be ahead of the curve. We want to be followers. We want a player that we monitor to join another club, let him flourish, and make a bid for him for like 60 million when he was worth 8 million the year before. That's our model. Absolute joke. Steve says stick Hato with Mendy in on 11. They settle in very quickly. Both players are ballers, ideal for slot. I agree. Hato would be a fantastic signing. I don't think a lot of people know about Hato, but for me, from what I've seen of him in the few matches I've watched in the past season or so, absolute baller. Absolute baller. He will still take a bit of time to settle in, I think, due to his age and his inexperience. But yeah, his ceiling's high. And so Mendy, yeah, you expect him to fin as well. But obviously, these players doesn't matter who you are, you always take some time to get accustomed to your coach's tactics as well as the pace and the intensity of the league. Premier League is like no other league, so they will certainly have taken time to get adjusted to the Premier League. But yes, they will certainly have had an impact, definitely. And he also wrote stick Isaac in Arsenal team and he settles in. Yeah, Isaac will probably settle in a lot quicker. He's accustomed to the league. Tactics wise, probably need a bit of adjustment, but I think he's technical enough to hit the ground running. So yeah. So there isn't what I'm saying is any transfer you do, there's always a risk. Anything in life you do, there's always a slight risk, right? Like in terms of you've got to do your research, you got to measure the pros and cons of signing this player. and then you make that step to sign a player. If we're always going to be a bit, wary of signing players because they might be a risk, Liverpool will never sign a player. That might be the case right now. Maybe they're not confident enough to sign players, which is an absolute joke. So for me, Liverpool need to show ambition. They don't have it. Not the club or the fan base, the owners. No ambition whatsoever. Steve says, drop 35 million on Hato, ideal Gomez replacement. Wouldn't be like for like, but yes, he will solve our left back / centre back position. He'll fit that. He'll be the long term. He could be the long term successor for Van Dijk. He might not be like for like, but he can play that centre back role and then be signed a proper left back in the future. But for the short term, you've solved two positions in one by signing a player like Hato. And as you say, if you don't take a risk, we would never cross the road. My point being there, exactly there. So, look, I don't know what Liverpool are going to do. It hurt me to discuss 20 transfers today and nothing evolved around Liverpool. But yeah, here we are. And there's the end of the show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Richard and Steve for your engagement. Appreciate your time and your contribution as always, guys. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 p.m. UK time. I'll be doing a Liverpool transfer talk show. So even this show ended up being a generic sort of Premier League transfer show plus a Liverpool. But why not make it part 2 tomorrow? We'll speak about the Liverpool deals in more detail. Hopefully, in the next 24 hours, we get a bit more rumors flying around. At the minute, I'm not holding my breath, but still a few rumors that we can discuss internally at the club and potential players that we have been linked with Liverpool. But it hasn't been many. But I'll try my best to do what I can tomorrow and discuss potential profiles. And if you've got, potential suggestions and players you feel like we should target, love to hear your suggestions. So yeah, make sure to tune in tomorrow at 10 p.m. for the Liverpool show. And on Thursday, I'll be doing a match preview of Liverpool versus Brentford. And on Saturday, I'll be doing Sunday, I'll be doing the live watch along of Liverpool versus Brentford. So yeah, lots of content coming your way. So please make sure you hit that notification bell so you'll be notified as soon as I go live. So yeah, lots of content coming your way. Just a few comments before we end the show. As Steve says, boom. Hopefully that's in reference to my shows coming up. So yeah, big up to yourself. And Double D says, big up Double D. Appreciate your comment. Appreciate you tuning in as well. Steve says FSG out now. Let them sign a few players and then they can go. I need 3 players right now because if we sign owners right now, no players are coming in. So get us 2-3 players and then you're free to walk. That's what I would say. Steve says Bajtic, Berg, Dog on the way out. What's the latest with Bajtic? I haven't heard anything with regards to him. I know he was linked to a move to Real Sociedad, which got shelved very quickly. Berg, I know for Brentford, and Ben Doak, he was linked to Celtic. If there's any other developments, let me know. But he will say Kelleher swap for Matt Riley. Is Matt Riley that player that was linked with a move to Serie A? Yes, it was him. I haven't seen much of him, to be honest with you, so I can't really say, he's someone that sticks to me. So he's a Danish international. Okay. Don't know too much of him, if I'm being honest, but that would be silly, to be honest with you, because selling a goalkeeper to sign a midfielder, I believe. Yeah, so make it make sense. FSG want to sell or loan him out. Okay. And as Steve says, Matt O'Reilly, baller. I'll definitely check him out. I haven't seen much of him, so yeah, I'll definitely check him out. But yes, that is it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're back, like I said, LFC Transfer Talk Show tomorrow at 10 p.m. So yeah, we can have some more discussion, debates about Liverpool, FSG, what we'd like to talk about. We'll chop it up tomorrow. So as always, guys, take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.